"Get out of my house, you pathetic has-been," she screamed, her finger jabbing the air, venom dripping from every word. My blood boiled as she stood in my own family's home, acting like she owned it, tossing my late parents' medals like trash. She thought she could bully her way into my legacy, but she had no idea who she was messing with. I smirked, heart pounding, and said, "Call the cops. Let's see who's trespassing." If entitled liars make you rage, smash that like button and subscribe to see this showdown explode. I'm Sarah Mitchell, 36 years old, a former Air Force pilot who flew missions over Afghanistan. Now, I run a cybersecurity consulting firm in Fayetteville, North Carolina, just a stone's throw from Fort Liberty. My life's built on discipline and loyalty, but nothing prepared me for the fight to protect my family's legacy. 3 years ago, my world shattered when my parents, John and Elizabeth Mitchell, both proud veterans, died in a civilian plane crash 200 miles off Raleigh. Their deaths left a void nothing could fill, and a house in Hope Mills, a cozy 2,500 square foot haven where we'd grilled burgers and hung the American flag every 4th of July. That house, deeded to me in their will, became my anchor. My younger brother, Caleb Mitchell, 32, took it harder. A Marine sniper with a silver star, he was my rock growing up, always quick with a joke or a steady hand at the range. But after Mom and Dad's crash, PTSD from his tours in Iraq flared up. He lost his tech job, his wife walked out, and his apartment in downtown Fayetteville slipped away when rent piled up. I couldn't watch him drown. Over coffee at a diner on Skibbo Road, I slid him the keys to the Hope Mills house. "Caleb, it's yours," I said, my voice firm but soft. "No rent, no timeline. Just heal." His eyes, clouded with grief, flickered with hope. "You sure, Sarge?" he asked, using my old nickname. I nodded. Mom and Dad would have wanted this. Back then, I thought I was saving him. But I didn't know a storm was coming, one named Nicole Ramsey, ready to tear our family apart. Growing up as military brats, Caleb and I were forged in the rhythm of base life, bouncing across 7 cities, Fort Bragg, Camp Pendleton, you name it, following Dad's Air Force orders. At 36, I still smile thinking of our backyard campouts in Fayetteville, North Carolina, where Dad, John Mitchell, taught us to salute the flag at dawn, and Mom, Elizabeth, read us war stories under the stars. Caleb, 4 years my junior, was my shadow, always challenging me to races across the 10-acre fields near Fort Bragg. "Bet I'll beat you to the oak tree, Sarge," he'd yell, his grin wide as the horizon. I'd let him win, just to hear him laugh. Those moments built a bond tougher than steel, one that carried us through deployments and distance. After high school, I enlisted in the Air Force, flying C-130s over Afghanistan, while Caleb joined the Marines, earning a Silver Star for picking off insurgents from 800 yards in Fallujah. Dad pinned my pilot wings in 2011, his eyes shining. "You're my warrior, Sarah," he said at our old kitchen table in Hope Mills, a 2,500 square foot colonial that smelled of Mom's pecan pie. Caleb came home in 2015, battle-scarred but proud, and we'd grill steaks on the deck, swapping stories of close calls. I left the service in 2018, using my savings to launch a cybersecurity startup in Fayetteville. By 2022, my firm was netting $2 million a year, and Mom and Dad cheered loudest at my office opening downtown, a mile from the market house. Everything changed in March 2022. Mom and Dad were flying to a veterans reunion in Charlotte when their small plane crashed 200 miles offshore, killing all 12 aboard. The news hit like a missile. Caleb and I stood at their graves in Arlington, saluting their caskets, our hands trembling. As executor of their will, I inherited the Hope Mills house and Dad's Veterans Fund, worth $300,000, while Caleb got their savings, about $150,000. It made sense. I'd always handled property, and Caleb had no head for it. But grief and PTSD tore him apart. By late 2022, he was missing deadlines at his tech job, drinking too much, and his wife of 5 years left him, taking their dog. When his landlord evicted him from his 900 square foot apartment off Ramsey Street, I knew I had to step in. I found Caleb at a dive bar near Fort Bragg, staring into a half-empty beer. His eyes, once sharp as a sniper's, were dull. "I've got nothing left, Sarah," he mumbled, his voice raw. I slid a coffee across the table and grabbed his hand. "You've got me, and you've got the house," I said. "Move into Hope Mills. It's 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, all paid off. No rent, no pressure. Just get back on your feet." He looked up, a spark flickering. "You do that for me?" I nodded, channeling Dad's resolve. "It's what Marines do, cover each other's six." He hugged me, whispering, "Thanks, Sarge." I drove him to the house that night, its wraparound porch glowing under the moonlight, thinking we'd rebuild together. But I didn't see the shadow looming, a woman who'd walk into Caleb's life and try to steal everything we'd fought for. By spring 2023, Caleb was finding his footing in the Hope Mills house, a 2,500 square foot sanctuary where he'd started jogging the 3-mile loop around the neighborhood and tinkering with code again. I'd visit every Sunday, bringing Mom's pecan pie recipe to keep our family's spirit alive. Those dinners felt like a ceasefire, a chance to see my brother's old spark. But that peace shattered when Nicole Ramsey walked into his life. They met at a Fort Bragg charity run for wounded veterans, where Nicole, with her sharp blonde bob and polished smile, introduced herself as the daughter of a decorated Army colonel who died in Vietnam. "She got me, Sarah," Caleb told me over burgers at Mac's Speed Shop, his eyes brighter than they'd been in months. "She knows what it's like to lose someone to war." I wanted to believe her story, but something about her felt too perfect, like a drill sergeant's uniform pressed for show. Nicole and Caleb's romance moved faster than a Humvee on a clear road. Within 5 months, they were engaged, and by December 2023, they married in a small ceremony at the Fayetteville courthouse, just a half-mile from my office. I stood by Caleb, forcing a smile as Nicole, in a sleek white dress, clung to his arm. At the reception in a rented barn off Highway 401, I handed them a $7,000 check as a wedding gift. Before Caleb could say a word, Nicole snatched it, tucking it into her clutch with a curt, "We'll put this to good use." Her charm was a mask, calculated, not genuine. I noticed how she corrected Caleb's posture, whispering, "Stand like a Marine, not a slouch," and brushed off his stories about Iraq with a dismissive, "Let's not bore everyone, honey." My gut screamed red flags, but I bit my tongue for Caleb's sake. The real trouble started when they settled into the Hope Mills house. Nicole assumed Caleb owned it, and he didn't correct her. "This is our fortress now," she declared at their first dinner hosting me, her voice dripping with ownership. I arrived to find the house transformed. Dad's oak dining table, where we'd carved our initials as kids, was gone, replaced by a glossy metal monstrosity. Mom's hand-stitched quilts, each a labor of love, had been swapped for generic gray throws. Worst of all, the American flag that hung proudly on the porch for 15 years was missing, replaced by a gaudy abstract painting. "We're modernizing," Nicole said, waving a hand dismissively when I asked about the flag. That old stuff was so dated. I clenched my jaw, feeling like she'd spat on my parents' graves. Caleb, once my confident sniper brother, shrank in her presence. When I brought up our old range days, hoping to jog his spirit, Nicole cut in, "He's moved on from playing soldier, Sarah." Caleb stared at his plate, silent. Later, as I helped clear dishes, I pulled him aside. "What's going on, Caleb? This isn't you." He rubbed his neck, a nervous tic from his Marine days. "She's just strong-willed, Sarge. She's helping me start over." His voice lacked conviction, and my heart sank. Nicole wasn't just changing the house, she was erasing our family's legacy and pulling Caleb into her orbit. I left that night, the porch light dim, knowing a war was brewing, one I'd have to fight to save my brother. By early 2024, the Hope Mills house, once a 2,500 square foot beacon of our family's veteran pride, felt like enemy territory. Nicole Ramsey's grip on Caleb tightened, and every visit I made to the 3-bedroom colonial drove a wedge deeper between us. My Sunday dinners, meant to honor Mom and Dad's memory with pecan pie and stories, became battlegrounds. One April evening, as I pulled into the driveway off Hope Mills Road, I noticed the front porch was bare, no trace of the American flag I'd replaced after Nicole's initial purge. Inside, the changes were worse. Dad's collection of military challenge coins, earned over 20 years in the Air Force, was missing from the living room mantel. Mom's silver locket, engraved with her initials, had vanished from the hallway display. I found them later that night on Craigslist, listed under Nicole's account, vintage military trinkets, $500 OBO. My stomach churned. She was selling our parents' legacy like garage sale junk. I confronted Caleb in the kitchen, where he was washing dishes, his shoulders hunched. "Caleb, she's selling Dad's coins and Mom's locket. How could you let this happen?" I asked, my voice shaking. He avoided my eyes, scrubbing a plate too hard. "Nicole says we need to declutter, Sarah. It's just stuff." His words stung like a betrayal. "Just stuff?" I snapped. "That's our family's heart." Nicole sauntered in, her smile sharp as a blade. "Sarah, you don't just barge into our home like it's your bunker," she said, crossing her arms. "This is our space now." I bit back a retort, noticing Caleb's flinch. She'd changed the locks the week before, texting me a curt, "We need privacy," and only gave me a new key after Caleb begged her. I felt like an intruder in my own house, a place I'd walked barefoot as a kid. The tension exploded at a Memorial Day barbecue in May, hosted at the house for Fort Bragg veterans. I arrived with a tray of deviled eggs, hoping to reconnect with Caleb's old Marine buddies. Nicole, in a red dress that screamed attention, greeted me with a fake smile. As we gathered in the 500-square-foot backyard, she took center stage, toasting our home and Caleb's new chapter. Then, in front of 30 guests, she turned to me, her voice dripping with venom. "Sarah's still playing general, thinking she can order Caleb around like he's her grunt," she said, laughing. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, and a few veterans shot me sympathetic looks. "She's a desk jockey who never saw real combat, right, honey?" she added, nudging Caleb. He stared at the ground, silent. Humiliation burned my cheeks. I set down my tray and left, driving the 5 miles back to my downtown Fayetteville apartment, tears blurring the road. Desperate to reach Caleb, I texted him the next day, asking to meet at Veterans Park, a quiet spot with a 50-foot flagpole we'd visited as kids. He showed up, looking gaunt, his Marine tattoo peeking from his sleeve. "Sarah, stop meddling," he said, his voice low and strained. "Nicole's helping me move on. I'm not your soldier anymore." His words cut deeper than any insult Nicole could hurl. "Caleb, she's erasing you," I pleaded, gripping his arm. "You're a Silver Star Marine, not her puppet." He pulled away, shaking his head. "You don't get it, Sarge. Just back off." As he walked away, the park's flag snapped in the wind, and I felt my brother slipping further into Nicole's web. I knew I had to fight for him, but every step felt like charging into a minefield, with Nicole holding the detonator. By June 2024, the Hope Mills house, a 2,500-square-foot symbol of our family's veteran pride, had become a battlefield. Nicole Ramsey's manipulation had driven a wedge between me and Caleb, my 32-year-old Marine brother, and her theft of our parents' legacy, Dad's challenge coins, Mom's locket, pushed me to my limit. I refused to let her erase the Mitchell name. On a humid Sunday, I drove the 5 miles from my downtown Fayetteville apartment, clutching a tray of Mom's pecan pie and Dad's folded American flag, a relic from his Air Force casket. My plan was simple: reclaim my brother and our home. But as I knocked on the familiar oak door of the Colonial, Nicole's voice sliced through the air before I could step inside. "You're a washed-up vet clinging to Caleb's life," she shrieked, blocking the doorway, her blonde bob swaying with fury. "Get out of our house." Her words echoed her Memorial Day insults, but this time, I was ready. My heart pounded, not with fear but with the resolve of an Air Force pilot facing a storm. I held up the flag, my voice steady as steel. "Call the cops, Nicole. Let's see who's trespassing." Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't back down. "You're delusional," she spat, jabbing a finger at me. "This is our fortress, not your museum." I smirked, clutching the folder of legal documents I'd brought. "Go ahead. Dial 911. I'm waiting." Inside, Caleb stood frozen in the living room, his marine tattoo barely visible under a too-tight shirt Nicole had picked. "Sarah, don't do this," he mumbled, his voice barely audible over the hum of the AC. Nicole rounded on him. "You told me this was our house, Caleb. Our legacy." Her accusation hung heavy, and Caleb's face crumpled, guilt-etching lines I hadn't seen before. Ignoring him, Nicole grabbed her phone and dialed 911, her voice rising to a screech. "There's an intruder in my home. She's threatening us and won't leave." I stood my ground, setting the pie on the coffee table, a sleek glass piece that replaced Mom's walnut one, and opened my folder, ready for war. 20 minutes later, 2 Fayetteville police officers arrived, their boots thudding on the 500-square-foot porch. Officer Daniels, a grizzled veteran with a crew cut, scanned the scene, while Officer Lopez, younger and sharp-eyed, took notes. "What's the issue here?" Daniels asked, his tone calm but firm. Nicole launched into her tirade. "This woman's harassing us, claiming our house is hers. She needs to be arrested." I handed Daniels the deed, property tax records, and Mom and Dad's will, all in my name. "I'm Sarah Mitchell, the legal owner," I said, my voice unwavering. "Caleb's been living here rent-free to recover from PTSD. This is my property." Lopez examined the documents, nodding. "These check out. The house is registered to Sarah Mitchell." Nicole's face twisted, her fake charm evaporating. "That's impossible," she screamed. "Caleb inherited this from his parents." All eyes turned to Caleb, who shrank under the weight of her glare. "Did you misrepresent ownership, sir?" Daniels asked. Caleb's voice was a whisper. "I didn't correct her." Nicole's scream pierced the room. "You lied to me?" In a flash, she grabbed Dad's Silver Star medal from a shelf, missed in her Craigslist purge, and hurled it at the wall, the metal clanging like a gunshot. Then she tore a framed photo of our parents from the mantel, smashing it on the hardwood floor, glass splintering across the 10-foot living room. "Enough." Daniels barked, stepping forward. "Ma'am, you're destroying property that isn't yours." Nicole lunged for a ceramic vase, but Lopez caught her arm. "Leave now, or you're under arrest for vandalism," she warned. Nicole's eyes darted wildly, but the officer's stance, hands on holsters, left no room for defiance. "This isn't over," she hissed, grabbing her purse and storming out, the door slamming with a force that rattled the windows. Caleb stood rooted, his face pale, as I picked up the shattered photo, Mom's smile barely visible through the cracks. The fight for our home was won, but the war for my brother's soul was far from over. The air in the Hope Mills house hung heavy after Nicole Ramsey's explosive exit, her screams still echoing in the 2,500-square-foot colonial. The shattered glass from Mom's photo frame and the dented Silver Star medal lay scattered across the hardwood, a stark reminder of her venom. I, Sarah Mitchell, stood in the living room, clutching Dad's folded American flag, my Air Force pilot instinct screaming that this wasn't over. Caleb, my 32-year-old Marine brother, slumped on the couch, his face ashen, his Marine tattoo hidden under a sleeve. The Fayetteville police had just left, their patrol car disappearing down the 0.2-mile driveway, but the real war was about to begin, not with fists, but with truth. That night, as Caleb stared blankly at the 55-inch TV Nicole had installed, I made a call to Major Tom Hargrove, a retired Army intelligence officer and old Fort Bragg buddy who owed me a favor from a 2014 Kabul mission. "Tom, I need you to dig into someone," I said, my voice low, pacing the 10-foot porch. "Nicole Ramsey. Claims she's a colonel's daughter. Something's off." Tom's gruff reply came fast. "Give me 48 hours, Mitchell." I hung up, glancing at Caleb through the window, his hands trembling like they did after his worst PTSD episodes. I knew Nicole's lies had deeper roots, and I wasn't letting her sink her claws into my brother any further. 2 days later, Tom met me at a coffee shop off Skibbo Road, 3 miles from my downtown Fayetteville apartment. He slid a manila folder across the table, his eyes grim. "Your brother's wife isn't who she says," he said. My pulse quickened as I opened it. Nicole wasn't the daughter of a fallen Vietnam colonel. Her father was a retired mechanic living in Ohio, alive and well. She'd been married 4 times before Caleb, each husband a veteran with assets she'd targeted. Court records showed restraining orders from 2 exes, one accusing her of forging documents to siphon $50,000 from his VA benefits. "She's a predator, Sarah," Tom said. Caleb was her latest mark. The worst came when I checked Nicole's email, which she'd left logged in on Caleb's laptop at the house. Among her messages was a draft to a shady lawyer in Raleigh, 60 miles away, outlining a plan to forge Caleb's signature on a quitclaim deed, transferring the Hope Mills house to their joint names. "Once it's marital property, I'm entitled to half," she'd written, her words cold as a winter night. She'd even sent photos of the house's 3 bedrooms and 2 baths to an appraiser, estimating its $350,000 value. My blood boiled. She wasn't just manipulating Caleb, she was plotting to steal our family's legacy, built on Mom and Dad's sacrifices. I drove back to Hope Mills, the 5-mile trip a blur of rage and resolve. Caleb was in the backyard, sitting on the 500-square-foot deck where we'd once watched fireworks. I handed him the folder, my voice steady but urgent. "Caleb, read this. Nicole's not who you think." His hands shook as he scanned the documents, his eyes widening at the email. She used my PTSD against me," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Said she loved me, but I was just a pawn in her game." I knelt beside him, gripping his shoulder like we were back in basic training. "You're not a pawn, Marine. You're a Mitchell. We fight back." Caleb's face crumpled, tears falling for the first time since Mom and Dad's funeral. I believed her, Sarah. She made me feel like I was worth something again. His words tore at me, but I kept my pilot's calm. "She preyed on your pain, Caleb. That's not love, it's betrayal." He nodded slowly, clutching the folder, his jaw tightening. "What do we do now, Sarge?" he asked, a flicker of his old sniper focus returning. I stood, the flagpole in the yard casting a shadow across us. "We take her down," I said. "Legally, and for good." The truth about Nicole was out, but the fight to save our home, and Caleb's soul, was just beginning. The Hope Mills house, a 2,500-square-foot testament to our family's veteran legacy, stood quiet after the storm of Nicole Ramsey's betrayal. The truth about her predatory schemes, 4 prior marriages, forged documents, and a plan to steal our home, had shattered the illusion she'd built around Caleb. By July 2024, Sarah Mitchell, a 36-year-old former Air Force pilot, and Caleb, my 32-year-old Marine brother, decided to reclaim our sanctuary. We moved into the 3-bedroom colonial together, not just to rebuild walls but to mend our bond, frayed by Nicole's manipulation. Each morning, we'd salute the American flag we'd rehung on the 500-square-foot porch, a ritual that felt like calling Mom and Dad back to us. Our first task was restoring the house's soul. We spent weekends repainting the living room in Mom's favorite navy blue, the color of her old navy ball cap, covering Nicole's sterile white walls. In Dad's study, a 10 by 12-foot space that once smelled of his pipe tobacco, we sanded down the bookshelves and rehung his Air Force commendations. "Remember Dad's war stories in here?" Caleb asked, holding a roller, his voice soft. I nodded, brushing paint on the trim. He'd make us act out dogfights with paper planes. We laughed, the sound echoing like it hadn't in years. We found Mom's silver locket in a box Nicole hadn't sold, and I fastened it around the frame of her photo, now restored above the mantel. Each stroke of paint, each reclaimed treasure, felt like stitching our family back together. Caleb started therapy at the VA hospital, for miles from Hope Mills, confronting his PTSD and Nicole's emotional abuse. "She made me feel like I was nothing without her," he admitted one evening, sitting on the backyard deck under a Carolina sunset. I squeezed his hand, my pilot's calm steadying us. "You're a Silver Star Marine," Caleb. She never defined you. His eyes, clearer now, met mine. Thanks for not giving up, Sarge. He enrolled in a coding boot camp at Fayetteville Tech, 6 miles away, and within weeks, his old employer, a defense contractor near Fort Liberty, offered him a part-time gig. They say I'm still their best coder, he told me, a grin breaking through, the first I'd seen since 2022. Nicole faced justice. A police search, prompted by Major Tom Hargrove's findings, uncovered a storage unit 10 miles away in Lumberton, stuffed with our stolen heirlooms, Dad's challenge coins, Mom's quilts, even his silver star, untouched by her Craigslist purge. She was charged with fraud and theft, her trial set for fall 2024. The court ordered her to stay 100 miles from Fayetteville, ensuring Caleb's safety. She'll never hurt us again, I told him, handing back his medal, its weight heavy with Dad's pride. By August, we hosted a barbecue for Caleb's Marine buddies in the backyard, the air thick with the smell of ribs and laughter. The 50-foot flagpole stood proud, the stars and stripes waving above us. To the Mitchells, a grizzled gunnery sergeant toasted, raising his beer. Caleb clinked his glass, his shoulders squared like the sniper he once was. As fireflies lit the 2-acre lawn, I saw my brother returning, not just to me, but to himself. The house, once a war zone, was home again, and our scars, like the flag's stars, shone brighter for it. Standing on the 500-square-foot porch of our Hope Mills house, Sarah Mitchell, 36 years old, gazed at the American flag flapping gently in the late August breeze, its stars catching the golden light of a North Carolina sunset. The 2,500-square-foot colonial, once a battleground torn apart by Nicole Ramsey's lies, was whole again, its walls repainted in Mom's navy blue, Dad's silver star medal gleaming above the mantel, and our family's laughter echoing from the backyard barbecue. Caleb, my 32-year-old Marine brother, had fought his way back from the shadows of PTSD and Nicole's manipulation, his coder's spark reignited. This wasn't just about saving a house, it was about reclaiming our legacy, our bond, and the strength we'd forged as children of veterans. As I leaned against the porch railing, Caleb joined me, a soda in hand, his Marine tattoo proud on his arm. Sarah, I owe you everything, he said, his voice steady, the first time it hadn't wavered since before Mom and Dad's plane went down in 2022. I shook my head, my Air Force pilot's resolve softening. You fought the real battle, Caleb. I just held the line. He smiled, the kind that reached his eyes, like when we'd raced across the 2-acre lawn as kids. Sarge, you're still the toughest CO I know, he said, nudging me. We laughed, the sound mingling with the cicadas, and I knew we'd survived more than a property dispute, we'd won back our family. This fight taught me lessons I'll carry forever, ones I hope you'll take to heart. First, protect your family's legacy, whether it's a flag, a medal, or a memory. Our parents' sacrifices, Dad's 20 years in the Air Force, Mom's service as a Navy nurse, lived in that Hope Mills house, and no one, not even Nicole, could erase that. When someone tries to rewrite your history, stand firm, even if it means a fight. Second, recognize manipulation for what it is. Nicole used Caleb's PTSD, his grief, to trap him, convincing him he was nothing without her. If someone isolates you, controls your choices, or makes you doubt your worth, that's not love, it's a mission to break you. Finally, support those you love by empowering them, not carrying their weight. I learned to let Caleb find his own path, like when he landed that coding job 6 miles away at Fort Liberty, proving he was still the Marine who never missed a shot. Looking back, I see Mom and Dad in every corner of this house, their laughter in the 10 by 12-foot study, their pride in the flagpole standing 50 feet tall. We honored them by fighting, not just for brick and mortar, but for who we are. Now, I'm passing the torch to you. Have you ever had to stand your ground to protect your family's honor? Maybe you've escaped a toxic trap, like Caleb did with Nicole. Share your story in the comments below, I read every one. If this journey hit home, smash that like button, subscribe, and hit the bell for more veteran stories of grit and healing. Let's keep fighting for what matters, together.